George Orwell, the voice that defied power. Introduction. Welcome to Paths of Thought, the channel where we delve into the minds of history's greatest thinkers. Today, we'll explore the life and work of a writer whose ideas have resonated through decades, influencing entire generations, George Orwell. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us grow and bring you high-quality content. Orwell was not only an extraordinary writer, but also a fierce critic of social injustice and a sharp analyst of political systems. His legacy invites us to reflect on freedom, truth, and power. Join me as we explore his life, ideas, and impact. Eric Arthur Blair, the early years. George Orwell was born Eric Arthur Blair on June 25, 1903, in Motihari, India, during the British Raj. His father, Richard Walmsley Blair, worked as a civil servant in the Opium Department, a colonial institution that already raised ethical questions. From a young age, Orwell was exposed to the contradictions of the colonial system, a structure that benefited a few while exploiting the majority. Despite attending Eton, one of England's most prestigious schools, Orwell felt uncomfortable in an elitist environment. This experience deeply shaped his worldview, fostering a critical sensitivity towards social inequalities. His ability to empathize with the underprivileged became a defining trait throughout his life. After graduating, he joined the Imperial Police in Burma, where he witnessed firsthand the tensions between British colonizers and local inhabitants. This period was pivotal in his personal and literary development, confronting him with the abuses of power. In his essay Shooting an Elephant, Orwell starkly describes how colonialism impacts both the oppressor and the oppressed. I was hated by large numbers of people, yet I was only an absurd puppet pushed to and fro by the will of those yellow faces behind. From Eric Blair to George Orwell, the choice to adopt the pseudonym George Orwell was more than an aesthetic decision. By doing so, Eric Blair distanced himself from his colonial past and established a new identity as a committed writer. The name Orwell comes from the River Orwell in Suffolk, England, a place that symbolized simplicity and a connection to nature for him. In the 1930s, Orwell began exploring journalism and literary writing as tools to denounce the injustices he witnessed. His first major success was Down and Out in Paris and London, a work blending autobiography with a detailed social analysis. In this book, Orwell vividly describes the living conditions of the poor and marginalized in two major European cities. The book not only showcases talent as a writer, but also his commitment to social causes. Orwell firmly believed in literature's power to change the world. In his essays, he argued that writers have a responsibility to tackle political and ethical issues. For him, writing was not a neutral act, but a means to influence society. The Spanish Civil War, a turning point. In 1936, Orwell traveled to Spain to join the Republican forces in their fight against fascism during the Spanish Civil War. This experience was transformative, both personally and professionally. Orwell not only fought on the front lines, but also witnessed the internal divisions within leftist factions. His disillusionment with these divisions was reflected in his book Homage to Catalonia, where he deeply analyzes the complexities of the conflict. Orwell wrote, "I saw great battles and victories, but also men dying for ideas they hardly understood yet embraced with passion." This period solidified his commitment to social justice and reinforced his aversion to all forms of authoritarianism, whether from the right or the left. The impact of the Spanish Civil War on his life not only strengthened his ideals, but also deepened his skepticism toward political institutions and leaders who prioritize their agendas over the values they claim to uphold. Animal Farm, a universal fable. Published in 1945, Animal Farm is a satire that uses animals to critique the corruption of socialist ideals in the Soviet Union. Through characters like Napoleon, a pig representing Stalin, and Snowball, inspired by Trotsky, Orwell demonstrates how absolute power corrupts those who wield it. The phrase "all animals are equal" But some animals are more equal than others has become an iconic expression encapsulating the hypocrisy of authoritarian regimes. This work is not only a critique of the USSR, but also a warning about the dangers inherent in power abuse in any political system. Orwell wrote Animal Farm during World War II, a time when political alliances and official narratives often obscured uncomfortable truths about allied regimes. The book transcended these barriers, becoming a literary piece that challenged censorship and prevailing ideologies. 1984, a dystopian warning. If Animal Farm is a satire, 1984 is a dystopia that takes readers into a bleak future where the state controls every aspect of life. Published in 1949, the novel introduces concepts like Big Brother, doublethink, and thought crime, which have become part of contemporary vocabulary. The story follows Winston Smith, a man who works for the Ministry of Truth, an institution dedicated to rewriting history to align with official propaganda. Through Winston, Orwell explores themes such as information manipulation, constant surveillance, and the erosion of individual freedoms. The impact of 1984 has been so profound that terms like Orwellian are used to describe situations where power is exercised oppressively and totalitarianly. The relevance of this work transcends its historical context, serving as a warning for future generations. One of the most chilling aspects of 1984 is its ability to predict dynamics that are now a reality: mass surveillance, media manipulation, and political polarization. In this sense, Orwell didn't just write a novel. He penned a manifesto against apathy and passive acceptance of injustice. Orwell's relevance in the 21st century. Despite passing away in 1950, George Orwell's legacy remains more alive than ever. His works inspire academic debates and serve as tools to understand and question our current world. In an era where information is manipulated, fake news spreads, and individual rights are constantly under threat, Orwell's ideas remind us to resist and defend the truth. Orwell understood that freedom and truth are inseparable. His work reminds us that language can be both an instrument of oppression and a tool for emancipation. In his essays, he emphasized the importance of clarity and honesty in communication, a lesson that remains relevant in the digital age. His legacy also extends to education, where his ideas on critical thinking and deep analysis have inspired generations of students and academics. Orwell taught us that literature is not just a medium for entertainment, but a platform for resistance. His influence has also reached cinema, television, and other forms of popular culture. Films based on his works and references to his concepts have kept his ideas alive, proving that his message remains universal and timeless. Final reflections. George Orwell was not a prophet, but an incisive chronicler of his time. His warnings about power and corruption resonate more than ever today. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to subscribe, give it a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. We love reading them.